Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So it's playing already.
Yeah, it should be started already. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Hi everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. But welcome back. Let's take a couple of minutes to wait for everyone else to join. In the meantime, you can go grab a snack. Yeah, we'll just start in a couple of minutes. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to another breaking news and setups webinar. How's everyone doing today? Hi Ravello. Yeah, I can't believe it's already half the year is gone. How are you guys feeling about that? I'm great too, thanks for asking. How about everyone else? Is everyone doing okay? How's the weather where you are from? Where's everyone from actually? Liverpool. I just came back from the UK, and it was so nice. The weather was incredible. And then I came back to Singapore, where I'm from, and it was so hot. Okay, we have a couple more people coming in. Hi guys, welcome. Okay. Okay, let's begin. So hi everyone, I'm Melanie. Today I'll be going through with you guys about the key fundamental news events to expect for the week ahead, along with some of the technical setups. So we'll be highlighting key news events, central bank notes, and resistance levels to watch out for. So today's webinar is brought to you by Everest Fortune Group in collaboration with Vantage Markets. So we're an award-winning research firm and finalists in 2019, 2020, and 2021 for Best FX and Equity Research. We work with the major financial institutions to help them forecast where the markets are heading, and now we have a special partnership with Vantage Markets where we're bringing you guys the good stuff every day. So before we start, here's a disclaimer as usual. So all the information which is expressed in this presentation is solely those of EFBG and not necessarily those of Vantage and are solely used for educational purposes. Yeah, so this webinar is purely educational. Nothing in this webinar should be construed as investment or trading advice. So please do your own due diligence before trading. Okay, so here is our company. We're award-winning research team, finalists for these awards, and we're a certified Singapore fintech company as well. So this is our CEO, Desmond, as well as my colleague, Cassandra. My picture is not here today because we had some technical difficulties, but I'm Melanie, and I'll be bringing you guys along with me today. Okay, let's start. So let's start with the morning report of what happened in the US session. So the US labor data came in mixed. NFP registered higher than expected at 390K, expected 329K, previously was 436K, while month-on-month average hourly earnings and unemployment rate deteriorated to 0.3%, which was lower than the expected 0.4% and previous 0.3%. So what does this mean for the Asia session? So holidays in Australia and New Zealand may see thin trading during the session while the central bank divergence play on USD JPY. So this may heighten volatility as the pair retests multi-year highs around 131.3. So now let's move on to the afternoon report. So during the Asia session, Boje Governor Kuroda stated that Japan's economic recovery remains the top priority and that the country is not in a situation that warrants a tightening monetary policy. So what does this mean for the upcoming Europe and US sessions? The trading volume is expected to be thin during the Europe session amid holidays for significant economies in the bloc. The US session may also see a tepid volatility amid a lack of first-tier data releases. So now let's move on to the DXY. So there were no major news events for both the morning and afternoon session for DXY. So what can we expect from DXY today? US Treasury Secretary Yellen stated that addressing high inflation is the Biden administration's top economic priority, reaffirming the aggressive rate hike path taken by the Fed. 250 BPS hikes are expected in June and July. For the central bank notes, they've confirmed that the committee expects further 50 BPS hikes to be appropriate. 75 BPS hikes are off the table. Balance sheet reduction pushed up to 60 billion in treasuries and 35 billion in MBS over a 3-month timeframe. The next meeting will be on 15th June 2022. Our next 24 hours bias is rather weak bullish. Okay, everyone okay so far? Okay, let's move on. So for gold, there were no key news events for today. So what can we expect? Amid aggressive interest rate hike paths adopted by central banks globally to combat inflation, the precious metal is still expected to lose more than gain amid toppish inflation rates. So our next 24 hours bias is mixed to weak bullish. Mixed to weak bearish. Everyone okay so far? Okay, great. Let's continue. So next we have the Japanese yen. So for both the morning and afternoon sessions, hi Ravello, yep, so sorry about that. Okay. So for Japanese yen, both the morning and afternoon sessions, there was no key news events for today. So what can we expect? Despite acknowledging that frequent price increases could hurt households, Bank of Japan Governor Kuroda said that the central bank would maintain an easy policy where wages could rise further. For our central bank notes, they've kept all policy settings unchanged at their April meeting and reiterated that rates will stay low for the foreseeable future and won't hesitate to add stimulus if the economy needs it. Our next 24 hours bias is weak bearish. Okay, there are no questions, let's move on. So our next forex currency will be euro. So for the euro, today was a bank holiday, and we can expect holidays in the two biggest economies in the EU, Germany and France. These are likely to lead to a lackluster move in the euro despite the latest hawkish ECB speak anticipating a rate hike after the APP ends in July. For our central bank notes, plans to phase out the APP into third quarter remained intact by reducing purchases from 40 BLN to 30 BLN in May and then down to 20 BLN in June. Highlighted risks for the economic outlook are tilted to the downside and have recently intensified with geopolitical and virus-related challenges. The next meeting will be on 9th of June 2022. And for our next 24 hours bias, we have a mixed to weak bullish. All good. Okay, let's move on to the Swiss franc. So our key news events for today is that it's also a bank holiday. And what can we expect from CHF today? Volume is expected to be thin amid the holiday for the safe haven Swiss franc. Our central bank notes kept all policies unchanged as expected, more concerned with the real effective exchange rate than the nominal. Remains very dovish and in no way expected to change anytime soon. Their next meeting will be on 16th June 2022. And our next 24 hours bias is mixed to weak bullish. Okay, let's move on. Next, we have the pound. So there were no major news events for today. And what can we expect from the pound? From the political front, UK Prime Minister Johnson is likely to face a no-confidence vote this week, dragging on BOE's recent hawkish tone to raise interest rates if deemed necessary to combat decade-high inflation. For our central bank notes, a third of the 6 members who voted for a hike viewed that the latest increase marked the end of the current hiking cycle. Peak inflation. So sorry about that. Peak inflation revised to more than 10%, which added to the stagflation fears. possible GDP contraction in 2023. Quantitative tightening plans to be updated at the August meeting. The next meeting will be on 16th June 2022. Our next 24 hours bias is mixed. Everyone good so far? If there are any questions at all, feel free to let me know. Okay, let's move on. So next we have the Aussie dollar. So for key news events, today was a bank holiday. And what can we expect from the Aussie dollar today? Following the holiday break, tomorrow's decision on the cash rate and the release of the RBA rate statement will take center stage. The central bank is expected to hike rates by 25 bps to 0.6%. For the central bank notes, it stated that further increases in the cash rate will be required to bring inflation back in line with the target. They've also announced passive quantitative tightening by stopping the reinvestment of maturing bonds. The next meeting will be on 7th June 2022. And for our next 24 hours bias, we have a mix to weak bullish. Okay, let's move on to the Kiwi dollar. So for the Kiwi dollar, the key news events for today was that it was a bank holiday. And what can we expect from the Kiwi dollar today? There was no critical data which will be released to influence the Kiwi for this week. The laggard to the Aussie is likely to get its directional influence from tomorrow's RBA decision. For our central bank notes, stress that inflation is a concern and will ensure that higher price pressures don't become embedded in longer-term inflation expectations. It also stated that more hikes are needed but didn't increase the neutral rate expectations. The next meeting will be on 13th July 2022, and our next 24 hours bias is mixed to weak bullish. Okay, moving on, we have the Canadian dollar. Hi Majid, yep, so if we still have time after this session, which looks like we will have time, we will go through gold. We will discuss gold in this session. Okay, so for the Canadian dollar, there were no major news events for today. And what can we expect? The firm oil prices are likely to sustain bids on the major oil exporting loonie. The overarching hawkish BOC completes the bullish picture, at least until the speech from the governor on 9th of June and the labor data on 10th of June. For our central bank notes, they've announced a start to passive quantitative tightening from the end of April by ending its reinvestment of maturing bonds. And they've also increased their neutral rate estimate to 2.5% from 2.2%. The next meeting will be on 1st of June 2022. So our next 24 hours bias is that it's weak bullish. Okay, let's move on to crude oil. So for oil, there were no key news events for today. And what can we expect from it? Saudi Aramco raised its July OSP for Asia and Europe by 50 to 100% while maintaining premiums for the US. Oman announced new oil discoveries that could potentially add 50 to 100k BPD in 2 to 3 years. So our next 24 hours bias is that it's mixed to weak bullish. Okay, we've come to the end of the weekly market update. There was a request for gold. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Majid, when you said discuss, do you mean market updates or are you talking about the charts, like analyzing charts? Okay, sure. Okay, so we can analyze this chart together now. And if you have any other requests, you can leave it in the comment section. Okay, so what do you guys think the general trend of this chart is? You can just let me know in the chat. Is it an uptrend or a downtrend? Yep, so it is up. Does anyone see a downtrend? Or can we all agree that it's up? Okay, seems like we all agree it's up. Okay, so do you guys think this is a valid trend line? Okay, so Majid says yes, Ravello says yes. Okay, so typically for a valid trend line, we need 3 significant swing lows. So over here, you can see that my trend line only has 2. Oop. Yeah, it only has 2. So this is not a valid trend line. There's something wrong with my mouse today. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, but I can see over here that we do have a valid trend channel. So for a valid trend channel, we just need 2 significant swing highs. Let me get my brush. 2 significant swing highs and 2 significant swing lows. Yes, correct. So for a descending trend line, so one like that, it's good to look for 3 swing lows, and then for an ascending trend line, it's good to look for 3 swing lows, and for a descending trend line, look for 3 swing highs. So maybe something like this for a descending trend line. Okay. Okay, now let's move on to look for our support and resistance levels. So typically for resistance, we want to look for the closest swing high to the current price, which would be over here. Then we want to see if we can pull back our support or resistance levels as far as possible to cut as many candle wicks as possible. Okay, do you guys think this is acceptable? So this is not acceptable because it's cutting too many bodies of candlesticks. So it's acceptable only if you cut the wick of the candlestick. So in this case, we have no choice but to put our resistance over here. So let's move on to our support. I think I would place my support over here because this is the nearest swing low. Okay, now let's pull out some Fibonacci levels to support. So here we have a Fibonacci retracement, but it's not really matching up with any of my levels. Yep, so we can get rid of that. And over here we can kind of see like a flash, right? Like from here, like that. So we can pull out our extension. And for Fibonacci projection, which is what we are using now, we mainly use these three levels: 61.8, 78.6, and 100%. So you can see over here that my 100% Fibonacci projection lines up with my level of support. Okay, let me just clear up the other levels. Okay. Okay, we can check for one more level to support our resistance. So there's a retracement from here to here, as we mentioned just now. There's also a retracement from any of the swing highs. So maybe I try from here. Okay, we have a 38.2 Fibonacci retracement. Okay, any questions so far? We can put our pivot over here. And this is our support. So because price is moving within the ascending trend channel, so we have a bullish bias that price will rise from our pivot to our first resistance. All okay so far? Now let's pull out some indicators to support our analysis. So a really simple indicator that I personally like to use is the Ichimoku cloud. So over here, we typically only take note of the cloud. So we see if current price is moving above the Ichimoku cloud, then it supports our bullish bias. But if price is moving below, then we have a bearish bias that price will drop. So in this case, it does support our bullish bias, so that's good. So we can pull out another indicator. Let's use MACD. So for MACD, we normally look at the red and the green areas. So for green areas, you can guess it gives you a bullish momentum, whereas the red areas suggest that there is a bearish momentum. So over here, it doesn't support our bullish bias, so we can get rid of that. Now I'm going to pull out RSI. So I'm just looking at the peaks of our RSI graph and then seeing if it aligns with our price, the peaks of the price. So it isn't really telling us much, so we can get rid of that as well. So for stochastic, take note, over here we like to use 21, 5, and 3 as our settings. This is just based on back testing. What we've discovered works best. Okay, again, RSI isn't really telling us much. Yeah, there isn't a valid descending trend line over here because it's only touching 2 points. So it's not valid, so we can get rid of that as well. So typically, because we've used 4 indicators, and these are the 4 that I like to use, the Ichimoku, MACD, RSI, and stochastic. So for your analysis to be confirmed, you should try and get 3 out of 4 to support your bias. So in this case, we have a bullish bias, but all of our indicators that we've used haven't supported our bias. So you can support it with fundamentals that we've mentioned just now. Yeah, so for Ichimoku, okay, let me clear this one. So when you click on the indicators button, Ichimoku is normally in the favorites, and you can adjust your settings. So for us, normally you can do your own research to look up the meaning for each of the lines, and everybody uses the indicators differently. It's just that over here we like to just take note of the cloud. Yeah, because it gives you an immediate one look at it and you know what the momentum is, whether it's bullish or bearish. And then for MACD, same thing. So for all the indicators, if I've only used 4 today, the Ichimoku, MACD, RSI, and stochastic. But of course, you guys will know that there are like 100 indicators. So every trader has their own favorite indicator to use. So you can do your own research and practice on your own to see what your favorite is. I'm just gonna go through some of those that I typically use and how I use them. So for MACD, we always look at the green or the red areas as well. Because similarly, one look you know what the momentum is. Okay. Yep, so for RSI, Majid says this is his favorite for trading. So for this indicator, we normally use this indicator to look for trend lines. So it will give you like so it'll help you predict whether price will drop or increase in future. I'm just trying to look for trend lines from the past. Maybe over here. So this is kind of an ascending trend line. We have three significant swing lows that touch the ascending trend line. So this is how you know that price will increase. To set trend line, you can use stochastic as well. Yeah, but it really depends on the chart. It doesn't always, if it doesn't give you a trend line, don't force it. Yeah. So like over here, there isn't really much of a trend line. Yeah. Okay, any other requests for any charts? I think we have 10 more minutes. We have time to do maybe one more chart. Or any other questions? I think someone asked for fundamentals. For gold. Yeah. Okay. So for gold, we actually went through this during the presentation, but no worries, I will go through it again quickly. Okay, so for gold, amid aggressive interest rate hike paths adopted by central banks globally to combat inflation, the precious metal is still expected to lose more than gain amid toppish inflation rates. So our next 24 hours bias is that it's mixed to weak bullish. And there's no major news events for today. Yep, you can go ahead and ask your question now since we still have some time. Or if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to ask. Ravello, I'm gonna have to check on that for you. Just give me a second. Martha, are you asking about like Bitcoin charts or fundamentals? Okay, let me just check on Ravello's question really quick. Okay, hi. Sorry, there was some technical issues. So for Martha's question, Bitcoin is at a key level right now. But fundamentally, so we do have to wait and see. But fundamentally, it's shown that it's going to drop. And for Ravello's question, because every trader has their own account, so there's like different programming. So you can email Vantage. Yeah, and they can help you. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Other than news, how to predict a swing? Other than news, you mean like a fundamental analysis? You can also look at so whenever you analyze things like this, you can check your Fibonacci levels, and when a confluence area, so when either 3 or more Fibonacci levels line up, so here's one, but this is only two Fibonacci levels. So something like this, if there is an area that has 3 or more Fibonacci levels lining up. This is a confluence area, and chances are price will drop or rise to that area and bounce off or reverse off of it. Yeah, so you can use your Fibonacci levels to predict some swings as well. No problem. Okay, there was a question, would tomorrow's RBA interest rate decision affect gold? So typically factors such as equity prices and volatility affect gold more. So like with general supply and demand, those are the real driving factors of the price of gold. So yeah, no worries. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you guys learned something. Yeah, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Have a great rest of your day.